What's up, guys? We are back for another San Diego Comic-Con 2018 review, and this is likely going to be my only Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts review just because of the selection of figures, and this is the one that I wanted the most, so I went after it. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, that is always such a mouthful, Vegito figure. And the big thing for Tamashii Nations is that their stuff is always repaints. The reason that I went after this one in particular is because to me he's not really a repaint. Sure, he technically is, but this is an entirely different form of Vegito. It's not the same as a recolor Broly or a recolor Cell. This is a different version of the same character for me. So he was kind of a no-brainer. The big thing for me with these figures, though, is the packaging. This is what the whole line needs to be as far as I'm concerned. I think this is exceptionally well done packaging. It's very cool, just very striking. The colors are vibrant and saturated, just fantastic. So you can see we've got on the front here, we've got a window with Vegito in it. We've got some artwork there on the side, and then the back is similar to what we see with regular Tamashii Nations Figuarts boxes with a bunch of product shots. So it's really that front that does it for me, but yeah, it makes for one hell of a presentation. So let's pull this guy out and take a closer look. Alright guys, here he is out of the package, and like I said, this is the one Dragon Ball exclusive that if I could only get one, this is the one I really wanted, because to me he's not just a simple repaint, although at the end of the day he still is. So we're going to go through all the normal stuff, but of course we will take a look at how he stacks up to the original Vegito, but let's get started and take a look at Articulation first. Now, as far as moving this guy around, if you are familiar with older Dragon Ball Z Figuarts, you know what to expect because this guy is on the 1.0 style body. So if you're only familiar with the newer stuff, this guy's going to be a little different than what you would expect. So he's got older joint systems. He's just different in terms of how he's put together in some ways. A lot of people hate this body. A lot of people have problems with the new body. I don't really care. I do have issues with this in some ways. It's not perfect, neither is the new one, but I don't have as big of a problem maybe as some other folks do with this body. I understand why we got this body. They couldn't have possibly put him on a 2.0 body, thrown him at cons only, and expected fans to be happy. So we've got 1.0 body here. Let's move him around and see how he works. So the head is kind of standard. You know what's good to do, what's going on here. He can go back almost none because of the hair and how it hits that neck piece in there. But he can look down. The neck, of course, is going to move with you as you move him around. You can get him to bobble side to side a bit, but it's not very much. You can rotate, of course, and then that's about it. So that's always kind of a limitation with some of these figures. Arms can go out all the way around. You've got the shoulder piece here that's hinged, so you can move that around to help hide the gappage that's in there. We do have bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, so pretty good movement there. And then we've got the ball hinges down here, so you can rotate, hinge, move all around. We have got the waist twist. We got a floating belt piece here as well, should mention that. Waist twist, you can pop it up to extend him a little bit, push him back down. You can kind of see it if you gap the belt a little too much. You can see that ball peg in there, but push him back down. Legs go pretty much all the way out. You can pop them down just a little bit because of how the joints are kind of seated in there, so they've got that drop down aspect going on. You can rotate at the thigh. They kick forward pretty good. They kick back, that's not human, but he can do that. We've got pretty solid knees, although they are pretty ugly, and that was one of the big complaints on this particular body. I know that a lot of people still aren't happy with Dragon Ball Z knees. I'm not in some capacities sometimes, but we've got this knee. I mean, it works really well, but it's an ugly joint. That's all there is to it. Can't really say much more. Nothing at the boot, but that's pretty normal. We've got rocker, rotation, small hinge. Everything just sort of hits in terms of how the boot's put together. And then, of course, we've got toe hinge for this guy. So he is pretty standard. I mean, there's nothing too crazy here, nothing really missing. It's just a different system. The one big thing, the one kind of glaring thing that usually pops up with this body is that depending on how you pose him, you will see these gaps in the thighs, and that's kind of one of the big aspects of the 2.0 body because he has the layers of fabric. It's not fabric, but it's plastic that help hide that, kind of like how we have these plates up here. We usually get them down here now as well, but we don't have that on this older body. But in general, he does move pretty well, and you can get him into some pretty dynamic poses. Now, in terms of his overall look, his design, I'm actually pretty happy with this iteration of Vegito. Now, you do have other accessories you can change his form up, and we'll talk about that. But this is meant to be his Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. I hate saying that. But this is his blue form. So this is the one with the blue hair. You can see it right there. So this is, of course, the fused form of Goku and Vegeta using the Potara earrings. So we do have the earrings sculpted on the heads. If I have one real complaint about how he looks, I think his eyes might be a little too close together, at least on this head. Some of them are better than others, and I'm honestly not sure I'm going to use this one, so it's not a big deal. He is, of course, a recolor in more ways than just his hair. So that, of course, mentions his eyes and his eyebrows, but he is overall a different shade of blue and orange in terms of his outfit. So the belt is a entirely different color. On the first version, it's the same color as his suit, but this version has the nice light blue. We've got all of this blue, kind of, it's navy blue, but not as navy blue, and it's got a ton of shading on it. This is, if anything, this is kind of the poster child for what an old figure art could be in terms of paint, because he's got tons of shading on the blue. It's actually really, really nice. And it's even on the back. It goes all the way down, all over, which is fantastic. I truly miss what they were able to do with some of these figures. We get it every now and then. It seems to be feast or famine these days with shading, but this figure has it in spades. It's fantastic. We do have the orange over here on the sleeves and then on his chest. There's not really any shading in there. I don't see any anyways. In certain light, I can almost pick something up, but I think it's just light playing tricks on me. I don't think there's any shading in there. And then, of course, we've got the painted on gloves, and then we've got the toes that are painted down there. But in general, I think he looks pretty solid. You know, this is obviously the blue form, so this is his Dragon Ball Super form, and his look and feel is pretty similar to what we saw in Dragon Ball Z. It's just jazzed up a bit. His hair is a nice metallic blue, and it's weird. I don't think that it should have been intentional, but I guess it was, that all of the Super Saiyan Blue figures all have different color hair. None of them are the same. Vegeta's is different, Goku's is really different and has tons of shading in it, but this one is kind of the same through and through. It kind of looks like it might have a little bit of shading, but it might be that metallic flaking going on in there, and I really like it. I think it looks pretty solid. I'm very, very happy with how his hair turned out. So let's take a look at this guy's accessories, and then we'll kind of pair him up against the original version. So this is, of course, a Dragon Ball, well, Super, in this case, Figuarts. So we've got extra heads, we've got extra faces, we've got extra hands, but one of the main things I wanted to talk about is a difference between the original figure and this figure, and it is kind of a thing that we see in the show, is that this particular non-transformed head, so we only get the non-transformed and then the blue heads. We don't get a Super Saiyan head. That came with the original version, but they're interchangeable. You could swap them out if you wanted. This version has different color hair for his base form. This guy has kind of a chocolate brown kind of look. It's very, very, very dark, and I'm sure you can pick it up only slightly, but it's definitely in there. You can see that he's got just very, very chocolatey brown hair. It's not black like the original one, but he does look this way in the show. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Just a little difference, but it's a subtle change that actually works really well. I'm pretty happy with how this hair turned out in general. And then, of course, he does have faces to go along with it. And in that same vein, let's run down what faces he does come with. We've got 3 transformed, we've got 3 untransformed, we've got a screaming base head, we have got a looking to the right base head, we've got a looking to the right transformed, a looking to the left screaming transformed, and then a kind of stoic standard transformed face. And then as far as hands go, we have got the 2 base fist hands, we have got the 2 hands with the splayed fingers, we have got the 2 hands that are gripping, but these are the weird hands that have the painted fingernails on them because they're just Goku hands. And then we've got the crossed arms, which we've seen pretty often in this line. I'd never use them on this particular figure, but I always like having them. And of course we have at last the hand that is used for his effect piece. And as far as this effect goes, this is one that I've actually been pretty fond of in this line. Not because I use it a lot or anything, because I honestly don't. It's kind of big and cumbersome, but it's just so unique and it's different. And it's just a cool effect piece. I like it. It's his Spirit Sword, Spirit Lance, or whatever it's called. I can never remember. And it is actually different between this version and the original too, which is kind of cool. So it just sits over top of his hand, this particular one. It's a right hand, and it just you just line up the fingers and pop it on, and you're good to go. So this is one that's pretty cool. You know, it's very, very different. It's unique to this particular character, so I'm always happy that they include it, and I think it looks good. And like I mentioned, here is a quick comparison between the two, so just so you can see exactly what is different about them. So you can see that the outfits on them, while the same, they are painted entirely differently. And of course, you know, I've got different heads on them. So this guy's got the Super Saiyan version, we've got Super Saiyan Blue. But one of the things that I haven't touched on yet is the fact that some of the faces are actually painted differently. So figures on the old version whose eyes are maybe looking right are actually going to be looking left on the new version. The Super Saiyan Screaming head, for example, is looking straight ahead, and the kind of comparison point to that would be the Screaming head on this one, which is actually looking to the left. So they've changed things up in a little bit of a different way, subtly. I mean, it's not exactly a game changer or anything, but they have provided some things that are actually a little different. And then we do have the different effect pieces here, and we do have a frosted version for the new one, and then this one is more clear. It looks a lot more like kind of what we see with the Figuarts stuff now. So we've got that. And then I didn't mention before, but these are also able to be used on a effect stand, on an act stand. They've got the ports on the bottom there, but you can also put it in his hand. So yeah, we've got differences down to that level. So they didn't just repaint the figure, they kind of re-engineered some of the stuff in terms of how the figure is displayed with different eye sights and eye lines. And then of course the effect pieces also get a new finish as well. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this figure. Like I said, I went into this one wanting it specifically because, well, I wanted it because it's Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. He is not just a repaint to me, and I think they did a good job of accentuating certain things well enough so that he is slightly different in other ways than his base colors, of course. But I do like the fact that we are getting this version. We've got Super Saiyan Blue Goku, we've got Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, so it only makes sense that we would have gotten this one as well, especially since he's in the show. It is unfortunate that, of course, he is on that 1.0 body. It is, of course, unfortunate that he is con/event exclusive. But at the end of the day, I am happy to have him in my collection, and I would urge you to go out and track this guy down if you need him as well, like I did. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegito figure from Bandai Tamashii Nations. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.